Precision fermented dairy is one of the most fascinating intersections of modern food science and Jewish law because the technology redefines what milk, even as well opening doors for products that look, taste, and behave like dairy, but are created without a cow. At its core, precision fermentation uses genetically programmed microorganisms, often yeasts or fungi, to produce the exact proteins that give milk its structure and flavor, especially casein and whey. These proteins are identical to those in cow's milk on a molecular level, but they never pass through an animal, and they are fermented in sterile tanks much like enzymes, vitamins, or microbial rennet used for decades in kosher-certified industries. The final product can be blended with plant-based fats, sugars, and minerals to create cheeses, yogurts, and ice creams that feel remarkably authentic, while sidestepping many of the limitations of traditional dairy. From a halakhic standpoint, this technology immediately pushes us to revisit the classic categories of milk, pareve, and the many sub-questions that govern how Jews have navigated dairy for centuries. Halacha begins by asking, is something milk because it chemically resembles milk, or because it came from an animal that lactated? Precision-fermented casein and whey don't originate from an animal at all, they are synthesized by microbes. That positions them closer to the halakhic status of microbial enzymes, which are treated as non-animal derivatives even when they imitate animal proteins. Many rabbinic authorities therefore lean toward classifying precision-fermented dairy as pareve because the source species is not a cow but a microbe, and the production process doesn't involve milking, animal handling, or any of the scriptural concerns tied specifically to shalav. This opens a positive path for people who want dairy-style foods that sidestep the full weight of dairy restrictions. Of course, halakhic reasoning also recognizes that these proteins behave exactly like dairy. They cause milk-like coagulation, they melt, stretch, and brown like cheese, and they may appear to consumers as ordinary dairy products. Some rabbis question whether such biochemical equivalence requires stricter treatment to avoid confusion between real dairy and fermented analogs, especially in situations like serving with meat. Still, the counterargument notes that halacha has always differentiated between appearance and origin in cases like almond milk or margarine, where labeling or placing almonds on the table resolves the concern. Precision-fermented products can adopt the same transparency safeguards, preserving halakhic clarity while allowing innovative pareve foods to flourish. Another important angle is the question of shalav Yisrael. Because no animal is involved, the traditional rabbinic concern that the milk might come from a non-kosher animal becomes irrelevant. Precision fermentation eliminates this risk entirely. From a technical standpoint, the supervising mashgiach is no longer guarding a dairy farm but verifying microbial strains, nutrient media, fermenter cleanliness, and downstream processing. In many respects, this resembles certifying industrial enzymes, vitamins, or yeast cultures, all well established in kosher supervision. It suggests a more flexible outlook. Since the milk protein is created from ingredients already under control, there is no halakhic need for shalav Yisrael restrictions at all, and the result would be kosher parve products that behave exactly like cheese without carrying the dairy label. The idea of mavashal, heat-treated, dairy adds another layer. Traditional mavashal concerns focus on wine, not milk, but heat treatment enters the discussion in a different way. Does the extensive processing, fermentation, purification, pasteurization change the halakhic identity of the product? Because precision-fermented dairy has no animal origin, its identity is determined by ingredients, not by transformation. Heat does not elevate it into a new halakhic category. Its parve status remains intact unless mixed with actual dairy components. This makes the entire production chain simpler, because it avoids the complexities of cheese-making enzymes sourced from animal rennet or the traditional rules governing Javina Zakum. As the field evolves, rabbinic authorities are mapping several principal questions. Does molecular equivalence to dairy carry halakhic weight, or is origin decisive? Should labeling and transparency be required to prevent confusion at the table? How should kashrut certification adapt to microbial biotechnology that can now replicate virtually any animal-derived protein? And how can the benefits, accessibility, lactose-free nutrition, reduced environmental impact, and safe production be integrated into halakhic frameworks that value both clarity and innovation? Many scholars see precision fermentation not as a challenge, but as an opportunity, a way to produce familiar foods with fewer halakhic complications, lower ecological burdens, and broader dietary flexibility. It represents a moment where ancient law and modern science can align with surprising harmony, allowing kosher consumers to enjoy dairy quality flavor and texture while staying fully within halakhic boundaries.